Do you know these few topics will make sure that you are well revised in Unit 6? Let's jump in. The first topic is quantity and units. On the screen, you can see the base quantities and their units. You need to remember all of them. On the left hand side, you have the prefixes. Here you can see a formula that will help you remember the prefixes. Moving on, there are two kinds of errors: systematic error and random error. Random error is totally unpredictable, but systematic error usually occurs the same amount all the time. Calibrating the equipments will make sure to lose systematic error, whereas using a graph will make sure you don't get random errors. Here is a list of experimental instruments and their typical resolution. You need to remember all of this. Moving on, this is a Vernier Caliper. This is a very important device in your syllabus. Now we will be learning how to calculate using a Vernier Caliper. First, you have to measure the amount that can be seen before the Vernier scale 0 pops in. Afterwards, try to find out where the main scale and the Vernier scale matches. In this graph, you can see that the 6.5 is the one that matches. So, the main scale reading is 1.1 and the Vernier scale reading is 6.5. Converting both to centimeters will give us a value of 1.1 and 6.5 millimeter. So in Vernier calipers, you have to convert the 6.5 millimeters into centimeters and then add them up. Let's see another example of Vernier caliper. Here you can see the main scale has a pointing of 22 and the Vernier scale has a pointing of 6. Putting that into the formula, the answer is 22.006. Another device that you really need to remember is the micrometer screw gauge. Here is a diagram to help you understand the micrometer screw gauge. If we move on below, you can see this is a map that will help you understand how to calculate. Look at the micrometer screw gauge. We can count 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4.5. That means we are using 4.5 here. From the thimble scale, we are using 22 and that should be presented as 0.22. This will give us a total of 4.72 and that is how you measure using a micrometer screw gauge. Moving on to the next sum, here you can see the main scale is 7.5 and the thimble scale is 24. So we're adding it up and finding 7.74. Let's do a recap, shall we? Vernier caliper has a scale of centimeter, whereas millimeter is used in micrometer screw gauge. The Vernier scale is in millimeter, but in the thimble scale, it's not millimeter, it's millimeter divided by 100. Vernier caliper is used to measure the length and the inner side of a donut, for example, a mug, and the micrometer is used to find thickness. Moving on, our next topic is uncertainty, and this is one of the most important topics. You see, if something is given like plus minus 0.01, it can have a range of values. For example, it can have a maximum value of 3.084 and 3.075. This is why we calculate uncertainty. Uncertainty usually have three main formulas. One has the resolution built into this, one has the difference, and another has the average formula. Let's look at some examples so that we can be sure. Here is a math that asks us to find the percentage uncertainty. Here we can see that we are using the micrometer screw gauge. It has a resolution of 0.01. That is why we are using 0.01 divided by 2 here. According to the formula, the actual reading is 1.72, which we put it here. That is how we get the formula. In the second formula, we can see that there is a length of 4.6, but the measured value came out 4.7. If we just use this in the formula, we can find the difference and the measured value to find 2.1 as the percentage uncertainty. In the last formula, you can see we have more than one number. So what we have to do, we have to take an average of this. Notice how I am not using 0.3 millimeter in the average. We are not using 0.3 in the average because that is outside the range and is an outlier. Using these values, we can see maximum minus minimum divided by 2 and the average gives us 2.67% uncertainty. If you can remember these formulas, all the uncertainty will be common. Moving on into our next topic is combined uncertainty. Percentage uncertainty is when a percentage is given instead of a value. In absolute uncertainty, a value is given. So let's move on to the formulas, shall we? We have to remember, if we have a multiplication or a division formula, we have to add the uncertainties. If we have a formula that has a square or a cube in it, we have to multiply by 2 or multiply by 3 accordingly. Let's look at an example so that you can be clear. Here you can see we have 3 different measuring things and 3 different uncertainties. If we look into the first math, we can see all the uncertainties are given out individually. Here 2.17, 0.412 and 2.78 are the uncertainties. Now as we want to find the uncertainty of the volume, we have to add them all up. Here you can see the D has a square, so we have to multiply by 2 on the uncertainty of it. Due to this, we are using this 2 into 0.412%. Moving on, if you look at number C, you will have a formula that has divide in it. Nevertheless, in case of uncertainty, you will just add them up. Here we add them up and found a total of 5.774. Moving on to our next topic, we have oscilloscope. Oscilloscope is a device used to measure waves. It has knobs that can be used to change the values. Let's look at an example on how questions from oscilloscope can occur. Here you can see the question has clearly indicated that one division is 1 square box. We are also shown that the time scale was set at 50 milliseconds per division. Here you can see that 2 of the wavelengths start from here and end at here. Due to this, we have 2 wavelengths from 6.5 boxes, and to find the total time we have to multiply by 50 milliseconds. Now to find the frequency, we are using the formula frequency equals to 1 by time, and in the time we are using the time of one wavelength, that is 6.5 divided by 2. Finally, we are converting millisecond to second by multiplying 10 to the power minus 3, and that gives us 6.25 Hertz. Okay, now moving on to the next topic, we have graphs. In the question paper, you will find a lot of questions that will ask you to change the formulas into a straight line graph. For example, here we can see a formula in the screen, and this question has asked us to graph ln C against X. So what do we do right now? We move on below and implement ln into the equation. Afterwards, you can clearly see that Y becomes ln C and the gradient becomes negative mu. Now you can plot the graph and find the gradient. The gradient will be minus mu. Moving on to our next topic is finding values. In the question paper, you can see rows of columns that have been kept blank for you. Below or above, they will be giving a hint. Here you can see that they have asked for log D and log L, but they have only given L and D. Now you understand that they have hinted that you need to bring log D and log L and write numbers here so that you can plot the graph. So far so good? Let's move on to the next topic, that is criticize the values. This is a very common question with a very common answer. Look at the marks, and if you see a 2-mark answer, just write any 2 points from here. Check the points to find out if it's inconsistent in significant figures or do they have inconsistent intervals, and if they have only 4 to 5 data, you can give not enough data and range, and at last, no repetitions. The next type of question is to draw a suitable graph question. This is usually a 5 to 6 mark question, so you need to learn all the points. First, make sure to tell them how to measure the appropriate unit that you are asked to measure. For example, if the question has time in it, you will measure using a stopwatch. If the question asks you to measure voltage, you will use a voltmeter. The next point should be that you will be taking several repetitions and take average of those repetitions to avoid anomaly. Use those points and plot in the graph and make sure to do the line or curve of best fit. At last, if we have any formulas, please write them down to explain further. And at the end, make sure to write a few precautions like avoid parallax error, avoid zero error, etc. Moving on, our next topic is show that equations. Here is a very common question that comes using the time formula of the pendulum. You can see the length of the pendulum is actually capital H minus small h. They have asked you to show this formula, so all you have to do is put it on the basic formula. Usually this kind of questions do not come with much variation, but you do have to change a gravity or an L here and there. You can pause the video and look at the solution. Here on the screen is what I called a magic circuit. This circuit has all the essential electrical components right in front of you. Now, here's the final trick. Anything that the question is experimenting on, we can put it in between this voltmeter. For example, in this question, if we have to measure the voltage and current through a bulb, we will put a bulb. If they have asked that we need to measure something like a thin copper filament, we will put a thin copper filament here. What if next they ask a diode? We will remove this and we will draw a diode here. What if they ask a thermostat? No problem, just remove this and draw a thermostat here. I think you get me now, right? I'll move on to the next topic, that is uncertainty comparison. Usually in questions like this, they will give you two values and ask if they are the same. For example, here we have something with 181 megapascal with an uncertainty of 6%. That means it can be 6% above or below 181 pascal. Also, they have given a 210 megapascal breaking stress of copper. They're suggesting that they have the same or similar breaking stress, and we have to find it out. So now, using the math, we found out that the 6% increase would give 10.86 megajoules. Adding them up, the total maximum value would be 191.86 megajoules. As the value is very different from 210 megapascal, we can safely say that they are not the same thing. So the student is incorrect. Somehow, if after taking into the 6%, the values came within the range, we will say the student was correct. Moving on to the next one is precision and accuracy. Precision means that the values are very close to each other. But you can see if we have a random error, precision means that the values are close to each other. Not exactly they have to be right, but they are close. If we have a random error in our system, suddenly one of the answers will be different and they will not be precise anymore. However, accuracy means the values are together and they're correct. Only a systematic error can affect the accuracy. Moving on to the next topic is graph. If you want to find the gradient from any graph, make sure to draw the line of best fit first and then draw a very big triangle. The bigger the triangle, the better the answer. Also, always make sure to use the points from the triangle, not from the one you have plotted. That will give you a better result. That's pretty much it. If you want to revise further, here are some new videos for you. Take care and good luck.